So this topic, we are going to wrap up our focus on fractions. We're going to look at fractions and division. And so our focus for this lesson is going to be fractions and division. And so you can understand how fractions are related to division by using visual representations and creating division expressions. So if we take a look at our solvent share, it says 4 people want waffles for breakfast. There are 6 waffles left. How can waffles be shared equally among 4 people? How much does each person get? Draw a picture and write a division expression to model the problem. And so when we take a look here, I have 6 waffles, and so I want them to be shared equally among 4 people. So if I look at this and I say, okay, if I divided, I could do where each person or each waffle, I'm going to just go ahead and divide into fourths. And by dividing as equal as you can, because that one wasn't very equal, as I divide them into fourths, what that tells me is now I can look at each person is going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each person is going to get 6 pieces of waffles. And so I would write it as 6 fourths, because again, my denominator is going to be fourths, which would be 1 1/2 waffle. So every person is going to get 1 1/2 waffles. Now, if I wanted to write that as a division expression, I can write it as one of 2 ways. So I look at how many pieces I have in total, all. So I have 1, 2, I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So I could write it as 24 divided by 6, or sorry, 24 divided by 4. And when I do 24 divided by 4, I end up with 6, and which is how I got 6/4. The other way that I can write it, that is probably going to make a little bit more sense as we get moving into our work with divisions and fractions, is I can write it as 6 divided by 4. And what that tells me is I am doing the numerator divided by the denominator. This is my expression. Notice I don't have an equal sign here. An expression is only part of an equation. It's not going to have an equal sign. So my expression is going to be 6 divided by 4. And then from there, when I find my answer, I end up with 1 1/2 waffles. All right, so let's move into your look back. It says one of the waffles was burnt. Explain how they could share 5 waffles easily. So what we would do is we could draw our 5 waffles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I look at this and divide them out, so I end up with 4. So each person would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4, which would be 1 1/4 waffles. So each person would get 1 1/4 waffles. So again, I take it and I divide it by my 5 waffles into 4 pieces, and then I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count each one of my fourths. I get 5/4, which equals 1 1/4. All right, so let's move into your visual learning for today. And so we're looking really at how fractions are related to division. That's our essential question for today. And it says Tom, Joe, and Sam made clay pots using a total of 2 rolls of clay. If they shared the clay equally, how much clay did each friend use? And so right here it says divide 2 by 3 to find what fraction of the clay each person used. So when I write my expression, let me do this where I can see it. When I write my expression that I'm going to write is going to be 2 divided by 3. So I can think of 2/3 as 2 divided by 3. Okay. And so what I would do is I would take my clay, and you'll notice that the clay has already been divided into 3 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then each person would get 2 pieces of clay. And so the answer here would be 2/3 of a roll of clay. Here's the other way that you can look at it. 2 divided by 3, I can think of it as a multiplication expression or a multiplication problem, is going to be 1/3 times 2. And so if we look at our number line, I have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. and I'm taking 2 of those 1/3. And so when I take 2 of those 1/3, I get 2/3 of a roll of clay. All right, so Amelia is sharing 4 slices of cheese with 5 friends. How much cheese will each person get? I am not a huge fan of the number line. If it made sense to you, go for it. But I like the actual visual piece of breaking them apart. So I'm going to go ahead and do 4 slices of cheese. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to divide it into fifths because I'm going to divide by 5 friends. So each slice of cheese is going to be 5 equal pieces. So let's see if I can do as close as I can get to 5 equal pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3. You draw one more line, so I'll come up here. Oop. 4. So there's, if I count, I should have 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's not very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 equal pieces. So I have all together, if I did 4 divided by 5, there's my division expression, 4 divided by 5. I have total number of pieces. Let's count how many each one's going to get. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Each person is going to get 4/5 of a slice. Okay, so it's going to be 4/5 of a slice of cheese. So each person, so I would get 1/4 here, or sorry, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. So each person would get 4/5 of a slice. I represent that as a division expression by doing 4 divided by 5. All right, moving into our guided practice. So if we take a look at our guided practices, explain how to write 3/10 as a division expression. So 3, let me get my color up here. So 3 is my dividend. So notice it's not my larger number that's being divided. I was very careful when we were working with whole numbers that I didn't say the largest number always gets divided. I said the dividend is the number that always gets divided. So 3 is the dividend, 10 is the divisor. And if you recall, the dividend goes before the division symbol. And so I'm just going to do a horizontal. So it would be 3 divided by 10. Explain how to write 2 divided by 5 as a fraction. So if I look at 2 divided by 5, 2 is the numerator. 5 is the denominator. So it would be written as 2/5. Okay. Ooh, now we get to use the number line. So use the number line to show 3 divided by 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to divide that into 4 equal pieces. So if I look here, each one of mine has been divided into 4 equal pieces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have that. I'm going to do, let me get my color back up. So when I do this, I'm going to draw, I'm going to do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So there's my first one. So it's going to be at the 3/4 mark, just so you know. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. There's my second one at the 1 1/2 mark. 1, 2, 3. There's my third one. 1, 2, 3. There's my fourth one. So there's 3 divided by 4. So each person would get 3/4. So my answer here would be 3/4. Okay, so we're going to write a division expression for each fraction. So it's going to be 1 divided by 9. And here, again, 7 is my dividend. 8 is my divisor. So it's going to be 7 divided by 8. In 6 and 7, tell what fraction each person gets when they share equally. 5 friends share 8 apples. So each person is going to get, so if I'm sharing 8 apples among 5 friends, that's my fraction. So it's 8/5 or 1 3/5 apples. 2 friends share 1 bagel. So if I have 1 bagel and I'm sharing it over 2 friends, that would be how I'd write it as a fraction. So each person would get half of a bagel. So you are going to go ahead and work on your guided or your independent practice and math practice and problem solving. And I would like for you guys to go ahead and do 8 through 27. You're doing all of them today. So you're going to do 8 through 27 all. Okay, yes, I like that color. Thank you. 8 through 27 all for your independent practice and math practices and